Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for December 19th, 2024. Well, I hope everyone had a restful evening last night after yesterday's substantial sell-off came in hard and fast at the end of the day after Jerome Powell disappointed the market and kind of popped that bubble that we've been blowing here to the upside. If you folks remember, I had suggested if the selling starts, it could become severe, but I got to tell you, I never expected it to move like this. So how about we take a look at what happened overnight as a result of this? Well, first off, when we take a look at Asian markets, pretty much down across the board, we ended up with Australia falling a full 1.70%. The Nikkei was down 0.69%. India was down $1.02, or 1.2%, I should say. South Korea was lower. We had Hong Kong down 0.56%, and Shanghai ended up closing lower, down 0.36%. So pretty rough day in Asian markets as well. European markets this morning are decidedly lower this morning, with the DAX down 1.15%, the FTSE down 1.46%, and the CAC being down 1.49%, despite the fact that Sweden had cut rates. There is an ECB decision on rates coming later this morning, so keep an eye out for that. Then if we take a look at U.S. futures this morning, well, U.S. futures are working a little bit of a relief bounce here this morning, trying to bounce back up as we wait for a GDP report. Dow futures are up 0.38%, NASDAQ futures 0.42%, and S&P futures up 0.42%, or 2650. Let's do that. And NASDAQ futures up 70.75 after a really rough day of selling. So let's take a look at some other things going on here in the market. If we take a look at oil producers had another really rough day. They were looking higher earlier, trying to push up, but boy, the selling came in hard and fast yesterday afternoon, and we currently see oil futures are down 25 cents here this morning at 69.77 a barrel. Still looking pretty darn bearish here. Brent crude is also down slightly at 73.26 a barrel. Natural gas, on the other hand, is still working a move higher, up about 11 cents this morning. So we'll want to be keeping an eye on that as it approaches resistance in this downtrend here in the chart. If we take a look at cryptos, boy, cryptos had a rough day yesterday. The last time I looked at it, being down more than $5,000 a coin. This morning they are popping back up. We've got Bitcoin running to the upside here this morning, up $1,229 a coin. Ether is up $4.02 after selling off strongly yesterday. And interestingly enough, we've got cryptos mostly green here this morning. If we take a look at precious metals, it's not that case for precious metals, because we're seeing the US dollar yesterday zoomed to the upside, hitting some new highs, breaking out up here, and trying to pull back a little bit here this morning, but that's not helping a lot of the commodities here in the market after that big zooming move up. Gold at the moment is down $23.70 an ounce in the futures. Silver futures down 81 cents. Copper, platinum, and palladium are all lower here this morning. So If we take a look at bonds, well, bonds aren't giving us a break either here today. The 2-year bonds are at 4.32%. The 10-year bonds are at 4.53%. 30-year bonds have leapt up to 4.70% this morning. So not giving us any break here on those interest rates. So what does all that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a peek at these index charts, see if we can gain a little bit of inspiration about how we're going to approach today. Taking into mind that we probably should expect some pretty heavy volatility here on the day with the uncertainty that was created yesterday. So keep that in mind. If the bulls can find inspiration here in the diamonds, well, I would look for a push back up here in the chart to see if we can get back up into this area of price resistance in the chart. And if we can get beyond that, we'll start pushing back up through this little area here, coming back up perhaps into this area of the chart. Now that would be a rally back toward that 50-day moving average that we failed so hard yesterday. So watch carefully here on that. We've got a lot of work to do to improve our situation here in the diamonds. Now, if the bears were to come up with any more inspiration today to the downside, well, you can see that possibility that we could slip right through here on that chart, dropping into this next level of price support, maybe right down in here. If we take a look at our SPY, boy, we sure shook things up in the SPY where we were holding this bullish pattern and it came off all at once, dropping pretty darn hard here, coming straight down through multiple levels of price support, coming into this stronger area of price support where we're trying to catch a bounce. Now, if we can continue that bounce in here, start looking at these levels through here to see where we might run into some resistance area. See if we can push back up and retest this area of resistance in the chart if those bulls can find enough relief rally. If the bears, however, find some additional energy, I would look for a retest of this support right here, and then of course right on down, if that breaks, into this area of price support. Beyond that, you can see what we've got going on here in the SPY. Remember, if we take a look at our QQQ was just, it was unbudgeable. There was nothing in the market that was going to prevent people from selling any tech until all of a sudden the selling started, and then it was a run for the door. And you can see we gave up all in one fell swoop. We gave up our upside trend, pushing down through. So if those bulls can find inspiration today, what I would look for is a push back up to see if we can test this resistance in here and that trend break. If we can pop through there, well, perhaps we can come up into this area of the chart. And once again, I would be watching for some pretty big potential moves and whipsaws here in the market. So be really careful. This whole idea of just rushing in and buying the dip, I would be really careful with that today, because the whipsaws and the volatility could be pretty strong as we just sort through the wreckage from yesterday. Now, if those bears were to find some inspiration here, you can see this price support that we ended up grabbing a hold of and holding. Look for a retest of that if the bears have anything to say. Breaking down through there, I would look at retesting yesterday's low, and then beyond that, we'll come down perhaps into this area of price support in the chart. And the poor IWM, it had been struggling for any inspiration at all here in the market. When it started to sell, it just went straight to the downside here. You can see we gave up our upside trend here a while back, and I was warning about the potential downtrend. In any rally back, look for the next potential short area. Well, we fell straight through that back down to this longer term upside trend and broke it yesterday before bouncing. So keep an eye on this. If those bulls find inspiration here, we've got kind of that upside trend. We've got some support right in here to give us a lift. We might push back up and see this bigger area of resistance in the chart, and you can see that goes back here quite a ways. We might see if we can test that for a potential push through. Pushing beyond that, then we'll start working our way back up through that big black candle. But boy, there's a lot of work to do. And if the bears find any inspiration, well, once again, breaking back down, we might test yesterday's close and then right into the low of the day. And beyond that, well, it gets pretty ugly here. We could see us coming back into levels down in here that we haven't seen for some time. So watch that carefully on the Russell. Let's take a look at our VIX. My goodness, our VIX went like a rocket yesterday as fear and panic came into the market all of a sudden, breaking through some major areas of resistance here in the chart all in one move. I would expect with the bullishness that we're seeing here in the pre-market trying to push back in, we'll see this ease back. Perhaps we can test some support levels in here. One thing you'll want to be paying attention to, for option traders, any options are going to be higher priced today because of the implied volatility spike in the market. So you'll be paying more for premium on those options. You may want to let the market calm down a little bit before jumping in headlong. Be really, really careful here. If we can pull back into here and find enough bullishness, maybe we break this on back down. We start coming back down into some of these areas of the chart. Obviously still very elevated, but we'll want to watch that closely for that possibility. If the bears have anything to say today and we get any additional fear out of the data today, well, you can see we might be out here looking at high places beyond these points. It gets pretty ugly pretty fast if we continue to spike here on the VIX. Our T2122, this gives us our best hope of a push to the upside. And this little relief rally that we're seeing this morning, the T2122, we are buried here at the bottom. You can see we've been down here before, but this is about as low as I've ever seen us hit in here, a 0.82. Wow. This is stocks making the 4-week new highs and new lows. You can see we don't have a whole lot bullishness in the T2122, but we do have that possibility of a substantial relief rally out of here. So watch carefully. If those bulls can continue to find inspiration, we could get a nice little lift, nice little bounce here today and possibly begin a relief rally. We'll want to watch that closely. Once again, I would suspect that we're going to see some pretty substantial volatility as we try to progress up out of here, because there's a lot of uncertainty now about the future, and we broke so many technical barriers yesterday all at once. There's going to be some challenges, I think, coming back up. If we take a look at our T2108, T2108 fell off a cliff, diving here. As you can see, we're back down here looking at lows that we haven't seen for some time. We're looking at 2023 lows here in the chart all at once for the percentage of stocks holding above their 40-day moving average. Only 18% of the stocks in the New York Stock Exchange holding above their 40-day moving averages. So here again, very oversold condition. I would be looking for a relief rally, but if the bears have anything more to say, well, we still have some lows that we could test down in here, and there's every reason to believe that's possible if we get some disappointments here on the day. T2107 fell really hard as well, falling well below 50% in one fell swoop, taking out all of these areas price support in the chart. So if we can get that bullish relief today, and then by the way, we've been much lower here in this. I'm not saying we're done, but if we can get a relief rally, maybe we start pushing back up and retesting some of these areas, maybe back up toward that 50% area here in the chart on any relief. Take a look at our T20-101. Well, unfortunately, T20-101 spiked up yesterday as well on that bearish breadth. The bears had the command yesterday, continuing to push this higher. And so we'll want to watch this carefully today on any relief rally. We need to see some breadth extending, some bullishness here in this chart. If we end up with that breadth pulling back today as we rally, that's only going to encourage those bears. So watch that carefully here. And one of the things I will say is any bounce back now is a relief rally only until we can start breaking through some of those significant levels of price resistance and we can prove to hold. If you just run in and buy the dip, make sure it is a really quick in and out trade. I wouldn't waste a lot of time with it because we could end up whipping right back down. Let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. And our economic calendar, well, we do have a few things to be paying attention to here today on that economic calendar. As you can see here on Thursday, we're going to be dealing with GDP here this morning. That GDP, they are suggesting it comes in flat with last time. Let's keep an eye on that. There's a pretty good chance those numbers will be a little bit different than that. We've got jobless claims coming in this morning. They're looking for 230,000 here today. So certainly both of these are market moving reports. After that, we're going to have to deal with this Philly Fed manufacturing. And we've seen some bad manufacturing numbers this week. So watch this carefully. If this were to miss, that could be one of those catalysts to bring bears back in. They're looking for an increase here to 2.5. Watch carefully for that possibility today. That could be helpful. We have corporate profits that will be coming in. We've got existing home sales. They're looking for an increase in existing home sales. This is another one that I kind of question whether or not this will be bullish, just simply because our rates have been going up this entire month. So watch that carefully here. If that happens to miss. Leading indicators will be in. They're looking for an improvement here to a negative 0.1, up from a negative 0.4. And then we've got a natural gas report. At the end of the day, we've got Treasury, International Capital, Fed balance sheet. There are a few bond auctions to be paying attention to, and a Kansas City Fed manufacturing number as well. Tomorrow, keep in mind, we're not going to be done with the market moving data. We're going to get a personal incomes and outlays. And remember, we could see some substantial volatility just simply because of the quadruple witching that we've got going on here. A lot of options expiring, a lot of things, a lot of movement could happen in the market. So once again, watch for that volatility. And we've got consumer sentiment and a Baker Hughes rig count Friday morning. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar. Now, our earnings calendar, we have a little bit, well, a few more earnings reports here this morning to be paying attention to. Obviously, what happened last night, Micron didn't help anything out here yesterday. Big, strong sell-off here, and Lennar, sharp sell-off yesterday afternoon after the bell as well. But today we're going to look at ACN. ACN, nice pop here this morning going on in the pre-market. We've got KMX also popping up here this morning. We've got Cintas. Cintas is pretty flat. ConAgra going just a tiny bit lower. We've got Darden, nice big pop there in Darden here this morning. That's going to help out. We've got FDS pushing just a little tiny bit higher. We've got LW sharply lower here this morning, and PAYX on those earnings reports here for today. So watch those closely. Now this afternoon, we have also some good market movers. AVO will be reporting this afternoon. I don't know why it's gapping so big this morning, but that will be this afternoon's report. And then we have Nike that will be reporting, and FedEx is probably the most notable for after the bell today. So be prepared for additional volatility around those reports. They are market movers. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That'll help the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone and the kind words and support of the channel. I truly appreciate it. Means a lot to me that folks are finding usefulness in this report, and still kind of surprises me because it's not full of hype and it's not full of prediction. It's just looking at what the market is showing us. So thank you everyone for that kind support. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. Remember everyone, these aren't recommendations to buy or sell any security. And particularly today, be kind of careful. There's going to be some volatility. We could see some substantial point whipsaws as we sort through the wreckage here of yesterday's move. But one thing I also want to say is don't panic. Don't panic here. We're going to figure this out. The market is going to survive. I know there are probably a lot of folks that have never experienced a move like this, and it's not that uncommon. And honestly, I think it probably was a healthy move in the market because it took so much of that froth out of the market all at once, and probably going to be helpful overall. As long as that sentiment doesn't turn bearish. So kind of keep an eye on here and try not to panic. Let's take a look at some of these stocks, and remember, they are not recommendations to buy any security. You've got to do your own due diligence, follow your rules and guidelines, never ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. So first off, as bad as it was, as bad as the wreckage was yesterday, there are still stocks that it made no difference to. Take a look at PLTR. Nice little resting pattern, almost no reaction to that news yesterday. I'd keep an eye on stocks like that held up well. I saw some defensive sector stocks. Yes, it pulled back from what it was trying to push up yesterday, but I think Kroger is setting up incredibly well and holding in here on trend and support. I'd keep an eye on Kroger. Nothing wrong with that chart at all. When we take a look at, obviously, the U.S. dollar, a lot of strength in the U.S. dollar. You might be able to find some trading there. Right now, the dollar this morning is up $1.16 from the pullback overnight. So keep an eye on that. There's stocks like LVS. LVS had a really rough day yesterday, but watch carefully for that potential that could push back up and rebound in there. Roku obviously pulled back yesterday, but I don't think that's a bad chart at all. I'd keep an eye on Roku, not looking terrible. You might want to start looking at some of the inverse ETFs, however, on any bounce back up. Take a look at stocks like, PSQ had a big change yesterday. This is a 1-for-1 inverse of the NASDAQ, and you can see trying to break that downtrend here. If the sentiment turns here on tech, we push up and hold in here, then I'd be looking potentially for some of these inverse ETFs to come back around. You could look at RWM for the Russell. That's a one buy in here. breaking through hard yesterday. Now any rest or pullback sets up that opportunity. You've got DOG for the diamonds breaking through downtrends here, pushing up toward resistance. Again, any rest or pullback could set up an opportunity there in the chart. And then stocks like SH here for the S&P 500 breaking through that downtrend. Again, any rest or pullback sets up an opportunity perhaps here in some of these inverse ETFs. On the volatility side, you can look at things like UVXY that's had a really big move up here. Again, little rest or pullback would set up an opportunity there in UVXY. You could take a look at the VIX, VXX in here, and VXX has that possibility as well after breaking through that downtrend. So keep an eye on some of those if the sentiment does turn here in the market. Things like JWN, Nordstrom's held in there really well, and you can see bouncing back up here in the pre-market here in JWN. You might want to take a look at some of the stocks like Costco that had a kind of a rough day yesterday, slipping down through trend, but if we get a good rebound, might regain that trend pretty easily. Walmart had a pullback, but it was like nothing really happened here in the market. We just stayed right in that consolidation, so no major problem in there. Some of the defensive sector stocks like WBA, no major problems in here. I think this is setting up. We saw Kroger was looking pretty good. Coke was trying to move up a little bit yesterday, pulled back, but still holding a potential higher low. So some of the defensive sector stocks may be a place to look, and you could see on a little bit of panning like this how we could get a bit of a rotation going into some of those stocks. Take a look at PayPal. PayPal had a pretty good pullback yesterday, but still trying to hold on to that trending area. Watch carefully in there. That could bounce right back up here. So there's good stocks out here to be paying attention to. I would be careful with just racing right in to try and chase some of them higher or predicting a bounce, because of the volatility that we're likely to see and the cost of those options. But I think there's no reason to panic here in these charts. Some of them obviously are bearish and looking pretty ugly to the downside, and any rally back could set up that short in the chart. Take an example of like KRE. KRE falling hard. I think any bounce back in here up toward this resistance would set up the next potential short. I'm going to say the same for stocks like XLF. Any rally back could set up that potential for a short. Lowe's, any rally back could set up a potential for the short. Home Depot, this didn't break this big upside trend all that bad, but once again, rally back, and I'd be watching for that potential short somewhere in around all of that resistance. So watch carefully here. There's going to be some short trades potentially set up. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for listening, paying attention to the Right Way Options channel. By the way, I want to remind everyone we still have that $7 trial going on in Right Way Options. You can come and visit us for an entire month. Start your year off with us. See if we can help you with your trading and improve some. We did take some profits yesterday, so it's kind of nice when we have ugly days like we have seen and able to take some nice profits. So with that, everyone, I wish you all the best. I will see you right back here bright and early Friday morning. Have a great one. And for anyone that's taking off early for the holidays, Merry Christmas. I want to wish you all of the best. Have a great day. See you back here in the morning.